Welcome to solverfy.
Okay, so for 32 part A here, we're going to show that if we take A or B first, and then with C, that is going to be the equivalent of first taking B or C, and then taking A or the resulting matrix. Okay. And we actually do this in a kind of tricky way. So we're going to take this first expression, this A or B in parentheses or C, and with the whole thing, we're going to introduce a new matrix, D, and we're going to take D and it, right? And then we're going to use the property of the distribution of and over or to get that is equivalent to D and A or B, or D and C. Okay, well, we can use that same property, that distribution of and over or again, to further break this down into D and A, or it's a wonky D, D and B, or D and C. Okay. Well, so now we can sort of just recombine them, right, in our preferred order. So this is going to be equivalent to D and A, or D and B or C. Again, we're just using the distribution property. And by that exact same property again, we get this is the same as D and A or B or C. Right, and so if this and this are equivalent, then it follows that the expressions here must also be equivalent, right? Because if we're taking D and those two expressions to be equal, then that expression in the brackets must be the same. Okay. And now B is similar, but sort of the opposite, right? In this instance, we're showing, instead of the or, we're using that A and B, and C is going to be equal to A and B and C in the brackets. We're going to use a similar trick. We're going to introduce D, another matrix, and we're going to take or over the entire expression, right? So this time, it's sort of the same thing, but we're just flipping our little hats and carrots upside down here. And there's also the distribution of or over and that this time we're abusing that property. Okay, so then we're going to get the exact same idea here. We're going to get D or A and B and D or C, and then we're going to break that down further to get the D or A and D or B and D or C. And then we recombine them using this distribution property, right? And I won't go through all those steps again since they're identical to the first page, but we end up with that. We get D or A and B and C. And then again, for these entire expressions to be equal, the expression in the bracket must also be equal. And so then we can conclude that those two expressions are equal.